Hello, it's Milk Jam Juice, and I'd like to make a video to give some cosplay basics to foreigners who want to cosplay in Japan. So this is mostly geared towards people who want to be based in Japan, living in Japan and cosplaying, but hopefully I can help you if you just want to visit and cosplay as well. So I made a video earlier, but it was rambling too much, I thought, so I'm making it a little bit more concise, and I made a list of things that I wanted to talk about. So, the first things that you need to know about cosplay in Japan is that it's still extremely taboo. So, cosplay does not mean cosplaying a character of a fandom like it might mean in other countries. It actually just means wearing a costume. Halloween is still not a really big thing here unless you're in downtown Tokyo. So wearing a costume is still considered kind of strange, kind of taboo. It's not the kind of thing that you would really tell your coworkers that you do. A lot of cosplayers like to keep their cosplay life very private and very separate. So that being said, you will not see people cosplaying on the street here unless you're in downtown Tokyo on Halloween night. That's the only time you'll ever really see people in costumes. I think maybe some people might have, sometimes there's a misconception that because cosplay is a Japanese word that it's actually more accepted here, but it's still pretty taboo, so don't expect to see anybody wearing a cosplay on the street. The one exception to this is what is called the Meiji Jingu Bridge. That is the bridge in Harajuku that is in front of Meiji Jingu Shrine. Although you will hardly see any cosplayers there these days, if you're lucky on a Sunday you may see one or two. 10 years ago it was a little bit more kickin', but not by that much. The cosplayers that you will see there are visual kei cosplayers, and I'm not going to cover too much of that because the visual kei cosplay world and the nerd cosplay world are quite separate. So if you go to Meiji Jingu Bridge, you're not going to be seeing like game characters or anything. So let me talk about cosplay events. One of the biggest rule for many Japanese cosplay events, once again, because cosplay is very taboo here, is you need to carry your costume to the event and change from your normal clothes into your costume at the event. Most events require this and will not let you in or out the doors in costume. This is, I can't stress enough how important this is and how larger Japanese events try to post this in English for foreign cosplayers, because when I cosplayed in the States, you would get ready in your hotel room and go as is into the convention. That you can't do that here. Most of the time, because there aren't really, cosplay events are much smaller here, besides the really big conventions like Comiket and Tokyo Game Show. But still, even there's no hotels like attached to the convention center, so you still have to go through the public, and that can be considered like a nuisance to the public. So it's very good manners to bring your costume with you. Now, the thing that you will be bringing it in is a suitcase, but this is also called a cart, and it's this. I got this for about 2,300 yen, about 22, 25 bucks. It's swimmer. It's a soft case, and you can fit about one medium-sized costume in here. I do not recommend soft cases. I'm actually going to buy a hard case for this, and let me tell you why. Because you have to change at the event, you will be changing in a dressing room. They are separated by gender, but imagine a big gymnasium with just like blue tarps on the floor and like 100 or more people just kneeling on these tarps. That's all you've got in the dressing room. You don't have any water access because they absolutely do not want you changing in the bathrooms. The bathrooms are for peeing and for pooping and for other body functions, not for your costume. So you want a hardcover one of these because this becomes your table. You will be kneeling in front of this, and once you get your stuff out, you'll be opening and closing this, and this becomes your work surface. So I learned the hard way. Soft surface ones are not very good because they go in the middle, and your mirror doesn't quite sit right. So that's one thing that's very important to know. Another one is like you're not going to have any access to water. So what I do is I bring a small water bottle, and you're not really supposed to spray a lot of things. They basically mean aerosol or airbrushes. Yeah, they don't want you using airbrushes because they don't want anybody making a mess there. But what I do is I just spray a little bit of water in my hands, and I bring a washcloth to wash any makeup off my hands as I'm doing my makeup. So please bring a little bit of water and a washcloth. It will help you immensely. Also, you'll need makeup removal cloths. The 100 yen store brand does just as good as the non-brando or the brando ones. So I've had really good luck with those. But like I said, no spray. Like you cannot bring in hairspray, and you cannot bring in airbrushes and things like that because it makes a mess. And generally these events are renting out halls, and they don't want you making messes. So there are a couple rules that a lot of cosplay events here have as well. One thing you have to be careful with is your blood makeup or any blood that's on your costume. If you're using just a little bit, this is like a blood gel. So I got this at Okadaya, and it runs about like 10 bucks, and it lasts you forever. But when I was doing my shepherd costume, I was doing minimal scarring with a little bit of blood on it. But it didn't look too wet, it looked natural, but you cannot use lots of wet blood paint on your costume or your face. It has to be dry. This is, once again, they don't want you making a mess. The next thing is cross-dressing. It is perfectly okay here for women to cross-dress to men. Not the same the other way around. Some events absolutely forbid men from dressing as women characters. You just can't. It sucks. You can't. Other events will say, yeah, okay, men can dress as female characters, but they have to try to be as feminine as possible. So they kind of want you to shave and wear tights and make sure that you're being like as modest as you possibly can and feminine, and making sure you're doing your makeup feminine. You shave here, you shave your legs and things like that. So please do keep that in mind. Another thing that is a little bit different as well is for women, if you have a shorts, like Daisy booty short kind of things, or if you're wearing a leotard, you need to be wearing tights. They actually don't allow bare legs. So if you have a skimpy costume, please wear tights over your legs because they will get on your case if you don't. The next one is, this is for outdoor events. There is one event called Cosplayers Paradise, which takes place at Tokyo Dome City, which is like a small amusement park near Tokyo Dome. And they have a specific rule that is, it literally is, do not break the dreams of children. And what it means is you should never be seen smoking or drinking alcohol in costume, because they don't want the kids at the amusement park seeing cosplayers as their favorite characters and like smoking a cigarette. Even if it would be in character, they don't want you doing it. Another thing that's different about a lot of cosplay meetups in Japan is the fact, if you're not at a convention, a lot of the meetups are cosplay centric. Japanese cosplayers are not always going there to make friends. They are generally going with their cosplay group and a photographer of their own to get good pictures. They want to get good pictures to put up on social media and cosplay social media. So if you go to an event with the mindset that you're going to make like 10 new friends, it's probably not going to happen. You may make contacts, but it's going to be difficult to make friends. I have made one friend from a cosplay event, and it was kind of a fluke, and it was probably a little bit because I was foreign. We were waiting in line for the Cure Cosplay Collection like fashion show, and the woman behind me like taps me. She's like, sorry, did you come here by yourself? I was like, oh yeah, I did. She's like, well, I came by myself too. So like, do you just want to be buddies for the day? I was like, yeah, sure. And then like we exchanged info after that, and we've been friends, but like she's from out of town, so I don't get to see her much, but she's really sweet. So I did make a friend there, which is, speaking of contacts, if you do meet a good photographer or a good cosplayer that you would be interested in doing work with in the future, you need to have cosplay meishi or cosplay cards, business cards. So this is what mine looks like. It has a couple pictures of my cosplay. I got these printed by a business card company, but there are companies that focus on cosplayers, and so I put a couple pictures on here, but some people have individual costume pictures. They may have like 6 of one and 6 of another and 10 of another. But the basic information you want to put is your name, like I'm a cosplayer, mine says Milk Jam Juice cosplayer, and then it has my Cure social media ID, which Cure is a Japanese social media site for cosplay. It has my World Cosplay ID, and it has my Cosplay Archive ID. So those are three of the major sites that are used by Japanese cosplayers. Will sometimes use World Cosplay. However, I have overheard them talking about that World Cosplay is, for them, is really, really intimidating. And they think that foreign cosplayers are like really intense. So a lot of them are a little bit intimidated to get on World Cosplay, but a lot of them are in Cosplay Archive. You need to know Japanese to be on Cosplay Archive. There's no English version. Or in Cure. There is an English version for Cure. Then, speaking of people being kind of intimidated by costumes, one of the reasons this is because costumes are mass produced here and they are sold regularly in costume stores. They can run you, I'd say average $100 to $200 for a decent costume. And you can just go and get one and hey, everything's done, yay! And wigs are extremely easy to buy here. There are so many good wig shops with decently priced wigs that will run you from 2,000 to 4,000 yen about. And you can get them in almost any color of the rainbow. You can even get them with mixed fibers and stuff, or heat resistant, not heat resistant, any kind of style. A lot of style will come with a really good style to them, and it's quite amazing compared to anything that, for example, we have in the States. I know that we have websites like Art of Wigs, and Art of Wigs, that's a very good resource, but it is online, so if you don't want to use your credit card, you can just go. These shops are in Ikebukuro. The 2 shops that I recommend the most, one is called Maple Wigs. Maple Wigs is awesome. Their staff are super friendly and super helpful. Swallowtail is another one in Ikebukuro that has very cheap wigs. Although I haven't bought from them yet, so I don't know what their quality is, but they have a hella good selection. There is one more that is called Assist Wig. Assist Wig is a bit more expensive, but they do have a styling service, but I buy Warbla from Assist Wig. They're one of the only dealers in Japan that deals with Warbla, and they will off and on have it from time to time. So anytime they have it, I buy like the entire, everything that they have, and I carry it all home. The last time I got it at 30% off, so I was like really stoked about that. Another thing is this, I'm trying to think. Yeah, so anyway, so like I said, the cosplay costumes are easy to buy here. So a lot of people buy their costumes. There are significantly fewer people who actually make their costumes. They may make props, but not the whole costume here. However, there are still people who are really interested in craftsmanship. It really depends on the person, but if you can't sew and you want to cosplay here, it's super easy. You just go, there's shops in Akihabara, there's shops in Ikebukuro, there's shops in Nakano. Those are the kind of the 3 big places you can go and buy a costume. Personally, I prefer Ikebukuro because it's more female-centric, and because they have Otomi Road there, and I'm not a big fan of Akihabara, just because it's farther away from where I live, and Ikebukuro is much closer to me. And the last thing I have to talk about is another really, really good tool, which is this magazine called Cosmo Door or Cosplay Mode. This is really cool because it shows you like different snaps of cosplays that are happening at different events. So you can go through and just, look at all the costumes people are doing these days. Every issue comes with patterns for different types of costumes. They also come with makeup tutorials. They'll have like female makeup, male makeup, contouring, makeup for old people, all kinds of stuff. And they'll recommend different brands for like different results, different temperatures. Like if you're going to a summer convention, they talk about makeup that stays well if you're sweating. They give wig tips, they give just like specific, this is all like taping tips. Like A lot of people tape their faces over their wig caps like this. I've never seen this done before until I came to Japan, but the majority of cosplayers actually tape their face back to get a better contour. Because also a lot of people do, most people do wigs and super makeup here. Wigs and makeup are super, super important. The other thing is they'll show you like some construction tips. In Japan, instead of warbler, the majority of people use a thing called lion board, which is kind of like foam, but it's a little bit, it's like Avafoam, but slightly different. And it is, it's shapeable by heat, but I don't like lion board very much. I prefer warbler, so that's just me, but it's a thing. Also, it'll show you like resin casting tutorials, and this is really helpful because Japanese brands of resin are very, very different than what you'll find in the West, say Germany or the States. So this kind of tells you what brands will give you kind of what kind of results, because Japan is actually a great place to be buying resin. They have all kinds of urethane resin, polyester resin, epoxy resin, and so on, and they come in all kinds of different types, and you get a lot of different kind of mold builders in here. It's really cool. And I have been, a cosplay friend of mine recommended the best place to buy resin is the Yodobashi camera in Akihabara. So actually I want to head there tomorrow if I have time. They even like talk about like, here's some exercises you can do to make your cosplay, I don't know, exercise, or like they have like facial exercises, and they have like comics about different things that happen in cosplay, and this one specifically talks about binding. They actually, I have an entire bookshelf of these things, and there is one issue that is all about binding, and it has like this flow chart, like what kind of boobs you have and what kind of binding on your budget is good for you. So these come out bi-monthly, and they're extremely useful, not to mention they're just so much fun to look at, and they're about 1,200 yen, about 12 bucks. And I have been collecting these for about 2 years now. I have a crap ton of these things, but they're great references at any time. And I think that's all I have to say for the video, so I hope you found that informative. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will I will answer them to the best of my ability. So anyways, thank you for watching, and happy cosplaying!